Hey everybody, welcome to Olympic Minds Leadership Beyond Limits. But what we're really focused on here is for those leaders who want to be leader of leaders, the visionaries, the leaders who want to go beyond mediocrity into mastery and beyond success into significance. That's why I bring in people like my guest today, Joe Topinka, because Joe is one of those kinds of people. He is a leader of leaders. He is 3 times CIO of the year. He's a CIO mentor, executive coach. He's an author, he's a speaker, and I would like to say he's a good friend, even though we haven't ever met face to face. We've had a lot of very organic conversations. And the thing that I love about Joe is that he shares, he's willing to share. He's not one of those kind of people that says, oh, it's mine, and I'm not going to include other people. He really wants to give his knowledge away. He wants people to have it. And so I'm Sherry Winn, your podcast host, 2-time Olympian, national championship basketball coach, and CEO of the Winning Leadership Company. So I also do keynotes. I've written several books. My favorite book that I've written is called Winning Leadership, 7 Secrets to Being a Truly Powerful Leader. But I'm currently embarking on another book on one of my favorite topics, which is resilience. So that is soon to come. So everybody, I want to introduce you to Joe, and I want Joe to tell you more about himself because I can't adequately describe all the things that Joe has done. But I do want you to know this. He's the kind of guy that you want to have in your home, the kind of guy that you want to have in your company, the kind of guy that you want your families to know. He's that kind of man. And so Joe, why don't you tell us more about yourself?
First of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. And I'm humbled by your description. And I feel similarly about you as well. So yeah, I'm a longtime IT professional. I've been in the business for more than 40 years now. I don't like to say the number of years because it just reminds me of how old I am. But I've got a real passion for giving back and coaching and mentoring just like you do. And you said something that really resonates with me, and that all the experiences I've had over the years, have shaped who I am and how I coach. And any tools or concepts or guides that I've created, I give them away. I don't try to monetize them. And I learned that from another really successful individual that I still interact and talk with as well. And I think that has, paid back in dividends over the years. And so I like to share. And I know that as I was moving through my career, I looked for help, and I've always been grateful for those coaches and leaders who were willing to spend time with me and share their knowledge. So that's what I do. And now I'm in my current state. I'm mostly coaching and mentoring, which I love. And it's a real passion. And, I would say, Sherry, that this time of my life is the perfect time to do it. You get to a point where you've had enough life experiences where you can start to begin to confidently share with others the learnings and lessons that you've acquired over the years. And that's kind of the state I'm in right now.
Well, so, one of the things, topics that we talked early on. So you and I have had several conversations and we talked about self-awareness. And one of the things I loved is you shared with me a form that you help people to see whether they're self-aware or not. Because people think they're self-aware. Like you're not going to meet anybody and go, hey, do you think you're self-aware? They're going to go, oh yeah, I am. I mean, everybody's going to go, yeah, I am. Nobody's going to go, oh no, I'm not. Because everybody thinks they know themselves. But, one of the challenges that I've had in coaching is meeting those people who don't know what they don't know about themselves. So talk a little bit about how you help people become more self-aware.
Yeah, that to me, it's one of those self-awareness, self-reflection are kind of the secret weapon of leadership. And this is a lesson that I had to learn the hard way myself, actually. You move through life and you move through as a leader and you sort of get an inflated image of your own performance until you have someone who's willing to tell you the truth. And if you're willing to listen to the truth, then good things can happen. And I find that it's one of those things that I find consistently not as practiced in my coaching business than it should be. Mm-hmm. And you can get to a reality check pretty quickly, especially if you're interacting with a leader's peers or associates, because they'll give you direct feedback privately. It's like, in the coaching business, you sometimes when you're talking to people, you're like the bartender, and people are more than willing to share lots of information with you once they get to know you a little bit. And that's the case here. And so I've developed a self-awareness, self-assessment tool that I've given people. And if anybody on podcast is interested, I'm more than happy to send it to them. But it starts with, looking at your own performance with clear eyes. And I always like to share with people that when you get feedback, it's a gift, clearly, but you have to listen for it and be willing to accept it and embrace it. Even if you don't find it necessarily be 100% accurate, there's probably some aspect of truth in that message that you're getting. And if you're willing to listen and look for it and then respond and do something about it proactively, then you end up being, a much better coach, individual, teammate, and so forth. I think it's really the fundamental thing that has changed my career throughout my whole life. I was an athlete as well. I played basketball, Division I basketball in college many, many years ago. It's one of those things that sort of sticks with you. There's so many life lessons through sports, which I always sort of pushed back and denied and didn't want to really apply it to business. But I'm realizing in my older age that there were many lessons that I learned, persistence and resilience and working hard. All those things are still very valid.
And I would say being coached, right? I mean, this is where the coaching comes in. When your coach recognizes something about you that you don't know about yourself, how you interact with other people, how pushy you are. I had a player once, and luckily I had only one coach who ever tried to address how intense I was, which unfortunately, when you're intense, you're sometimes aggressive. I think, that would be a good word, aggressive. And and it was started kind of that internal reflection of, well, how do I show up for other people, and how's that sound to other people, and what if I were a teammate of myself, would I want to play with me? Like, that was a good question to ask, right? I think it's a good question for a leader to ask. Like, if I was a team member of myself, would I want to be led by me? I mean, that's a great self-reflection question. But I had a player, and she yelled and screamed at her teammates and got in their face, and had several players come to me and say, look, we don't want to play with her. Like, she has to go, or we're going to go. I'm like, whoa, that's a little bit too intense. Let's try to figure out a middle place here. But that's what caused me to start coaching my leaders. That even I wanted good leaders, and I was thinking, well, they're 18 or 19. I kept asking my assistant coaches, go find me good leaders. They're 18 or 19. What does an 18 or 19-year-old know? And that was really what started me helping those leaders learn. And I think that there's still a lot of leaders out there, and you probably met them, Joe, that they got to the top because they were so good. I mean, their talent level was so good. And yet when they got there, they didn't know how to lead. So now you have people at the top who are, extremely talented. They don't know how to lead. So what was it you suggest to people who have risen fast? They were really great at their skill level, and now they're a leader and they need to start learning how to lead. Where would you start them in that process?
Oh, it's a great question. And circumstances are different for many people, but I find what often is the case, being able to really self-reflect and see how you show up as a leader is the place that I always start. Like, are you actually being perceived in the same manner that you think you are? And if you can get people to sort of look at that, and there are many ways to do that. A lot of the leaders that I interact with are, they're assertive. They, it's kind of my way or the highway. I characterize them as emotionally expensive people. These are people you don't want to be around. You know who they are because, back in the day when we used to drive to our offices, if I'd see an emotionally expensive leader in the parking lot, I'd sit in my car and wait until they got in the building because I wanted to avoid them. And I tell some of those stories because it helps to sort of illustrate the point that I'm making as a leader. If you're not, you don't have to be their friend, but you have to at least be, you have to listen, and you have to be nurturing, and you have to be, sensitive. You can't just steamroll people and knock them over the head. And so that's part of it. I think the other aspect of it is that a lot of the leaders that I interact with today got awarded their leadership roles because of their technical expertise. And so they don't like letting go. They don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to ask for progress updates. If they're frustrated, they go do the work themselves, right, instead of engaging their team members. So those are the things that I see, just generally speaking. How about you? What do you see?
Oh, really the same thing. I think that when people, because they are good at what they do, that they immediately assume that people will follow them just because they were good at what they did at one point. But once you get out of that place and you're up at the top, then your role is different. You're no longer the person who's doing the work. You are now the person who has to have the vision. You have to have that long-term ability to see what's going to happen. And so you can't work in the business, you've got to work on the business. And so many people want to keep, like you said, you're talking about, they're not delegating, they're putting their hands in the pile too much, they're not empowering. And so it's a different mindset. And I think a lot of people have to get used to, what am I supposed to do now if I'm not doing the task? Like, what is my new role? So when people would say that to you and they would say, well, what, like, before I was doing all this stuff. Now it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything anymore. What would you say to them? What's their task now?
Yeah, you have to rewrite your narrative. I have a customer who is actually in that same very boat. He doesn't feel like he's actually doing anything. And I said, well, you are. I mean, people want to be led. You've got to think through what the priorities are of the organization, identify how your team is helping to drive that strategy forward. And then you're really managing the energy of your group. You're not doing the tasks anymore, and you're not being measured on your technical prowess. You're being measured on how well your team pulls together and drives towards a common goal. It's a whole set of circumstances, and you got to rethink it. And I was telling this client that when I was sort of making that transition from technical prowess to leader, I had to rethink what success looked like for myself. Because I was really kind of frustrated. I was kind of in between. Used to be recognized for my technical expertise. No longer am I recognized in that capacity anymore because I'm not doing that anymore. So I had to be recognized as a good leader. And so what does that look like? And it reminded me that I had to practice and work at being a good technical person. You have to do the same thing as a leader. Sherry, one of the things that I'm just profoundly struck by after all these years, it's the idea that we don't teach these sorts of things coming out of college or school or high school. We don't teach people how to have good relationships. It's one of those missing links, I think,
right.
Ecosystem of our growth. I really think that's been kind of a phenomenal sort of aha moment for me. And that's probably why my coaching practice is still thriving after all these years, because even now today, it's still very true. AI is certainly putting a lot of pressure on people and organizations, but I do think that having skills in how to have a relationship, and I think it's going to push us to wanting and craving more human interaction, more human relationships. So I think in the future, people who know how to do it well are going to be the ones that are succeeding and have success versus those that don't.
Well, I think that, you just talked about, teaching things that people need to know, and that's like building good relationships. And part of that to me is, one is the ability to listen, which most of us don't have that. And we're too eager to, this is what happens when somebody else is talking. We're just getting ready to talk. We're not listening. We're getting ready to talk. And what does that mean? That means that we're getting ready to share. First things like, oh, you think you hurt your ear back? Let me tell you about my back. So sharing, right? That's not really listening. We're not listening to their struggles or what's going on with them. We're not trying to decipher it. So the number one is we try to share. Number two is we tend to get judgy. So we judge what they're saying. We're like, oh my gosh, can't believe he said that. Can't believe she said that. Can't believe it did, blah, blah, blah. Number three, we evaluate the person. So, oh, look at what, look at those boots, or look at that tie, or why would she wear those shoes, or whatever we're doing, we're evaluating. The fourth thing we're doing is we're getting ready to give advice. Like we can't wait to share something we can help them with. So ta-da, we're great. So listening in a relationship is really difficult because who teaches us to listen? We don't listen. We're just getting ready to talk. And part of being a great leader is learning to be silent, learning to listen, learning to hear beyond what they're saying. And, if you're going to have a great relationship, that's really what it is. You've got to be able to put yourself in the back seat of something. So you got to, if I say remove your ego, and not that we can ever really truly do that because our ego's always in our ear, but to learn that we've got to put our team members before us. And that means listening. Yeah.
And that's actually the skill you need to acquire as a leader, you have to become a good listener. I like what you said about ego. I have a friend who says your ego is not your amigo. I like to repeat that because I have to remind myself all the time. But yeah, listening is such it's something you can learn. If you do it intently and you can actually use what you're hearing as a way to kind of help somebody, nurture them and move them along on the right path. It's a remarkable what you can actually learn by listening, and versus formulating what you're going to say next. So I think that too part of that comes with your
like talking about the ego, if we're still needing to be validated by somebody else, so if you get in the leadership role and we're needed to be validated by my team member, I need them to tell me something or tell me how great I am. I need them to come in the office and say, you're wonderful, or I need them to believe I'm great. Like if I'm still in that role, I can't listen because my ego's in charge because I still need to be validated. So to me, that part is like really getting to the level of confidence that you no longer need to be valued or validated by anybody else in your company. Not to say it doesn't feel good. Like when somebody says, oh, you this was great, or you that, but you don't need it. So how do you get people to that level, Joe, when they can understand, when they can validate themselves, when they feel so good about themselves that they're not fishing, right? Fishing for a compliment. They're not putting their line out there all the time or fishing for somebody to say great things about them or feel mad or angry or less than if somebody doesn't.
I think it has to do with how you shape success. You know, your success is having motivated teams. Your success is having teams that are willing to healthily debate one another. They know how to have a constructive discussion. Some would say argument. I think when you start to see those successes, you start to realize that you had something to do with it as a leader. You're creating the right environment and you're setting the ground rules for what great looks like. You know, I have a set of rules of engagement. Stop judging, start helping is one of them. Get your facts, don't tell stories, don't make them up in your mind because that's just a slippery slope. You know, those are the sorts of things. Assume positive intent. As a technology person, API is a technical term, application programming interface. I've renamed that the human API. So you come into every relationship assuming positive intent. That's my repurposed acronym. So, if you do those sorts of things, you start to, define what success looks like. And your team is a reflection of you as a leader. Lots of people in organizations that have great reputations out in the marketplace, you might be working for someone who doesn't have the greatest leadership skills and you feel differently about that organization. You scratch your head. Why is that? It's because the leader does not manifest or show up the way that the reputation of the company does. And so too often people want to bail out on a team or an organization because the leader isn't as sophisticated or as evolved as they should be.
Right.
Those are really interesting lessons I think people can draw from and ask themselves, am I one of those? Do I create the right energy? Do I create an environment where people can thrive and share knowledge? I always like teams that were willing to come back to me with feedback and say, hey, we need better direction. You're not giving it to us. That happens once in a while. And I loved that as a leader, that my teams they felt comfortable enough with me that they could do that. That to me is a mark of success, that I check that off as like, hey, wow, that's fantastic. Because I know leaders that don't like to get feedback from their teams because they're not quite as evolved as they should be.
Right. Well, that goes back to they're still looking for validation, right? If you're at the place of confidence, as such a confident leader, that you invite people to challenge you, like you want them to challenge you, you want somebody to come to you who they're afraid of what they're going to say to you, right? They're like, oh my gosh, but you want that person to come in with that kind of major, major information that could really shift and change something positive. You don't want somebody who's afraid to speak to you, or you don't want somebody to come in you to just say, no, you're great. I always wanted my teams, when I was coaching basketball, I wanted them to come back to me with anything that was stopping us from being the best we could be, and that included me. And I was a very intense, emotional sideline coach, right? I mean, I was I wouldn't be that person.
Were you throwing towels and kicking chairs?
I would have in my early career. I didn't do it in my later career. I evolved from that. But I was very passionate, and I had a group of players come to me once and said, we just can't play that way. That's just not who we are, right? Yeah. We need you to be this person. I'm like, well, I'm not that person. But we need you to be this person. If you want us to be successful, then we need you to be this person for us, because we're not reacting well as a whole to your intensity. And so I did. I mean, it changed that team because I heard what they needed from me. They were not as tough mentally as players I had in the past, and they took things really personal, and we worked on that too. But I heard what they needed. And because of that, I think we started out that year, I think 0-3, we ended up 27-6 or 26-7. So, and that adjustment was me being the coach they needed for them to win, even if it wasn't my normal way of coaching.
Yeah, I remember I was at a conference and I saw she happened to be the COO of Bank of America. And she had thousands and thousands of people reporting to her. And she said something to the audience. She was doing a panel discussion. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, what is it about leadership that surprised you? And she said, the truth is, I learned that people want to be led. And as a leader, you need to put your head around that idea and make sure that you're delivering on that promise that employees are looking for. That stuck with me. That was a number of years ago. And it's shaped the way that I approach my role as a leader. People want it. They want you. They want your leadership. They need your leadership in order to create the right energy in the group. Mm-hmm. You've posted about this recently, I think. And when you're a coach, you're looking for people who are maybe smarter than you are, that can actually elevate the whole team. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of leaders don't like that. They don't want to be shown up. And so that's a leader that hasn't quite evolved, and that self-reflection component, it really hasn't kicked in yet. I think that was you. I'm pretty sure it was you that wrote that.
Probably it's something I would say, but it's true. I think that you don't want people around you who are less than you are. You want them, like if you can look at a person and go, man, I would have never thought of that. That's brilliant. Like that's incredible. Then you're really going to elevate your team. You're going to elevate everything that occurs, because if you have to be the smartest person in the room, like you said, you're still not in the position of being a great leader, because you're still asking for those people to defer to you rather than you seeking out all the power you could get from a whole room full of incredibly smart people. You're taking away from them and trying to elevate yourself into a level that just is not going to help the overall company get to where you want to go.
Yeah, it's such a simple concept too. And I think it's powerful when people come to the realization that that's a path they can take. It's good things start to happen. So yeah, the thing I would also add to that conversation is one of the things that I've done as I shifted from doer to leader, as I started to think about, well, who are other leaders I want to emulate? Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you and I got connected, but it might have been through that, because I'm still today, to this very day, I still look for who are great examples of leaders out there, and what ideas might they have that could help my leadership practice and my coaching customers. Mm-hmm. So you never stop learning from people. And if you seek out great coaches and you have that model in mind, it helps to up your game. So I don't know if you're the same way. You're always engaging with other leaders. I see that on social media. And I do read all your stuff. So it's,
thank you, Joe.
And I'm absorbing it. It all just gets in there somewhere.
I think that when you're willing to learn, then you always have teachers appear, right? So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And so if you want to learn, if you want to grow, there's going to be lots of opportunities for that. But the people who are not yet ready for that, they're still in that place of, and I just think it's insecurity at the base of it when we talk about it. So when we're talking about the ego, it's insecurity. When we're talking about needing to be validated, it's insecurity. And so you can say, well, but this person has X amount of money. They are this leader in this powerful company. It doesn't matter, because if you're still needing to be validated, or you still to be the smartest person in the room, you're really insecure. So a secure person would say something like, wow, that was a phenomenal idea. Listen, hey, everybody, that was Joe's idea, and we're going to run with this. Joe, you've got this, because you're the person that originated this idea. You guys are going to follow Joe on this one. I'm here to remove obstacles for Joe. I'm here to, like, if there's something that I can get, a resource I can get for you, that's my role in this. Like, that's what a true leader does. They don't have people have to run around Joe to come back to me to get, no. It's the difference of, and I think the only way you can do this is through this evolution that we're kind of talking about, of self-awareness and self-reflection. I don't know any other way to get there.
No, you're spot on. And it is part of the sort of the natural evolution of becoming a great leader. You said something that triggered a thought on the coaching clients that I have, that I most enjoy, that I have the most success with, are what someone referred to, Cy Wakeman refers to them as the willing. Those are the willing. And about half my clients come to me because they want to get better as a coach, and they're hungry for it. But a good half or more are actually being forced to do so. And in those cases, those are the unwilling. And those are people who really you have to think about, kind of what motivates them. And the clients I have the most success with end up in that other camp. And I always try to explain to people who are not the willing that their motivation, their success, and their ability to be a strong and phenomenal leader is really a part of their willingness to look at their own performance. Mm-hmm. If they're there begrudgingly, and if they're there because the executive team saw some promise in that person and maybe they're a little bit too emotionally expensive, they're not willing to work on those skills. There's not a thing I'm going to do to help them get there. And that's the thing that's frustrated me as a coach. I just want people to hopefully listen to this message, mm-hmm. because it'll make them better and more powerful as a leader. So that's the thing that I still get frustrated with, yeah. And I wish I could crack the code on. I don't know if you figured it out, but man, that's frustrating because you see the promise there, but they're not willing to open up and be self-reflective.
Yeah, Joe, I felt that same way, like in 23 years of coaching basketball, right? And so from coaching basketball to now that I coach executives, but it was the same thing that frustrated me early on, because I was like, I can help you become the best version of you. Like I've got this knowledge, I've got this awareness, I've read these books, I've been coached, I've been in the Olympics twice, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I can help. But if they're not willing, like if they didn't want it, then there was not going to be anything I could change. And so I had to kind of switch my whole mindset about this, which is I'm offering you the gift. That's my part in it. That's all the part that I can do. Like my intention is to really help you become the best version of yourself. I'm going to be here and be really present and do everything I can to be here. But you've got to be willing to take the gift. Like my part is just in giving it. And I've seen a lot of people who won't take the gift. I mean, they don't see it as a gift. They're not ready for the gift. They don't want to open the gift. Some people open the gift a little bit and use like 1/3 of it or 1/16 of it. But the people who really want to succeed are ready to do that extra work. They're really ready to go into it. And it's hard. I mean, look, if you have to look into yourself, if you got to figure out that you are your biggest obstacle and you got to face that takes courage. That is courageous right there.
Yeah, you're right. It is hard work, but it's rewarding work. Mm-hmm. There's something freeing about admitting that you're not as perfect as you thought you were. For me, it's like, wow, a burden's off your shoulders, and you can say, well, wait a minute, I can make improvements. Mm-hmm. So that I really love that. It's one of those things I work on and strive to help the unwilling. How do I crack the code? I haven't quite figured it out. They hear what you're saying, but they just aren't really quite ready yet. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of disbelief, and maybe they're kind of in denial about the feedback that they're getting from their executive team, for example. Yeah. They don't want to hear it. And they want to defend it, and they come up with all kinds of excuses until it's almost too late. And then all of a sudden they get their 90-day plan, and like, okay, if you don't shape up, we're shipping you out. So that's happened, unfortunately.
Sure. Well, and that's interesting because I've been involved in masterminds where I go into a mastermind and then people are giving somebody a feedback. Right? So it's a mastermind where people are sitting around tables and somebody's given a challenge, and then people are on the table giving feedback. And I've been at masterminds where people are like defensive and you don't understand and all that stuff. But the most incredible thing that's happened to me recently is I started working with John Assaraf. Now he is the founder and creator of NeuroGym. He has created and sold many different companies. So he's a billionaire. And everybody in that mastermind, every single person in that mastermind, when somebody says something, they'll go, oh yeah, I didn't see that, or thank you, or I didn't recognize that, or tell me more about that. That every single person. And so you go, wow, this is the kind of, groups that you want to be around, because nobody's being defensive. Nobody's going, no, that's not right. Every single person is asking for more feedback, not less. And when John gives like a major feedback, which is sometimes kind of harsh, not harsh. He never does anything harsh, but it feels harsh. I mean, it feels harsh on you. Everybody goes, wow, I didn't see that, John. Thank you so much. Nope. I mean, it's just the most incredible thing. But these people are also all entrepreneurs. They're also wanting to be really successful. They recognize that we tend to self-sabotage ourselves. And so they understand all those kind of aspects in the meeting. And it makes it's so pleasant. It's so amazing to be around this kind of people.
Yeah, it's like intoxicating. A lot of this comes from a lot of private work, in your head space, showing up, thinking about it, at least for me. Even as an athlete, I would think about my performance. I would play through scenarios in my mind, and my performances were always best when I did that. And I would think about, what does great look like, and how might I perform, and what happens if I get knocked down? How do I get back up and get right back in it? So those are the most memorable moments of my athletic career. And also from my professional career. The word resilience used to just be a word to me. And I always tell my coaching clients that if you're committed to something, you're in it 100%, then resilience is the next logical step. And that means that you're going to run into roadblocks, you're going to run into challenges. And your job is to think about, how might I overcome those before they happen? You start to think about it. You may not be able to map out exactly the scenario that you're going to encounter, but by virtue of you thinking about it and planning some course of action to overcome and still succeed despite your circumstances, that's what resilience is. That became more of a mindset and a shift, not just a word, not an affirmation, but something you think about and plan for. So that's another aspect of what I help my coaching clients really come to grips with.
Well, I think it's all about mindset. I mean, I think what we're talking about is really mindset. It's talking about, sometimes you have to change something that you used to believe in to get to the next level. Sometimes you have to really look at a belief that you've had and to realize that belief was not helpful, that it was harmful. And so you have to change, literally, like you have to change you. And it's not just, people say, well, I was born this way. I'm like, not really. I mean, you might have been born with some of those aspects, but as soon as you got into this world, you were given all this information from your parents and your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, uncles, whoever you were around the most. And it became the way you saw the world. But, you can change the way you see the world.
Yeah.
You can change your belief systems. That is something that a lot of people don't understand, but we can totally rewire our belief systems. And that means that we literally change who we are. One of my favorite sayings is, you don't get what you want, you get who you are. To get what you want, you have to change who you are. And so that means reworking like thoughts, beliefs, and really evolving as somebody new and different that you wouldn't have, if you were to look back at you, who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a year ago, whatever it is, you would go, wow, I'm not that person anymore. Like you would literally know that you're a different human being.
Yeah. Yeah. It's rewriting that narrative, man. It really is. It's really powerful when you do it too. It's amazing when the light bulbs go on. And it's something you have to work at and practice for sure. Being a coach is probably the most rewarding experience of my professional life. And that's because selfishly, I get a lot from my coaching clients that it's not the other way around. I get so much energy from the people that I work with. I learn so much from them. It's a two-way street, but it's I wish I had started doing this way earlier in my career, but I don't know that I had been ready for it, by the way. I'm not sure I would have. I want to just say something about what we're talking about as being very human. And in the age of AI, and I'm around AI, I'm part of a startup in agentic AI. Here's what I'm seeing. The skills you and I are talking about today are going to be more in demand, not less in demand because of AI. I think people are going to crave great leaders. They're going to crave great human relations because you can't trust what you're seeing anymore on AI. I think that the best leaders are going to be the ones that really understand the human side of being human. And showing up and having resilience and having self-reflection. Those skills and those capabilities are going to be what makes the successful leaders of the future, just like they do today. But a lot of people think because of AI, they don't have to think about it anymore. I think it's just the opposite. I think it's more important now than ever before.
Well, I mean, I think that there's a lot of people, I agree with you. There's a lot of people that go on to chat and have conversations with chat, right? Like they're asking, what can I do about this? How can I improve this? Blah, blah, blah. They're having conversations. But at the end of the day, it's not a human being. Like that person can't really, the emotions that flow between people, right? That energy that flow between people, the need to be understood between people, the need, a lot of times people just I think some of my clients want to tell me the worst thing they've ever done so that they see that I don't change expressions, right? I mean, I don't ever go, oh my gosh, you did that. I'll just go, oh, okay, well, that proves that you're human. And that proves that, we all have these places to learn and grow from. That's all it proves. It doesn't, in my eyes, like I rarely say this, but if I have to, in my eyes, you're nobody different. You're just somebody that had a human experience, and that's what we come to learn from and grow from. And so it's no different. And I think you're right that people are going to crave, even if they're talking to their AI, and even if they're using AI, even if they have AI agents doing some of the work, even if they're, I get on HeyGen and create an avatar, right? I mean, even in all that, there's still something that needs connecting in our hearts, our souls, our energy, whatever you want to say about that.
There's intuition, passion, love. Those things are human. And AI can't replicate that or replace it. At least not in my world, and I think that's what I think people are really craving for, especially with the crazy climate we have today, where you've got such divisiveness and polarization happening. I just think that I still think and believe in the human race, and I think that goodness and being compassionate human beings who teach the things that you and I teach those are going to be the things that really power us through all of this craziness.
Yeah. So Joe, if there's something I haven't asked you, if there's a question that you wanted to answer, if there's something that you want to share at the end of this, what's the one thing that you want to share, or one thing you want to talk about that we haven't discussed?
Well, we've covered such an array of topics. I just like to leave people with the idea that being a great leader is a choice. And if you make that choice, and it starts with you, it starts with your inner beliefs, and it starts with looking at yourself and your own performance honestly, with clear eyes, and finding those examples of great leaders and emulating them. I think we overcomplicate sometimes what being a great leader looks like. And I think I would just leave people with the idea that you can do that if you choose to do it. You can become a great leader, and you can look to people like you and others for great examples of what that great leadership looks like. At the end of the day, it's that simple. You just have to decide you want to go after it, and find the tools, the techniques, the principles, the ideas that really work for you. And it's really fundamentally human at the end of the day. People and companies are people. They're made of relationships, and the better we can be at it, the more successful we'll have as a leader as well. Absolutely.
Well, Joe, I'm sure there's somebody listening today that's going to say, "Hey, I really like to know more about what Joe does, especially because you're in technology and you're coaching in technology." How would they find you? How would they get a hold of you? In what ways can they connect with you?
Just check me out on LinkedIn. Just look for my LinkedIn profile. I'm always happy to engage with people. I joke that I'm a serial networker. I love to meet new people and learn from them. My whole quest is to see if I can learn something new along the way. And I often, if not almost always, learn from somebody I interact with. But do that. I've got a new book coming out here this month called Beyond the Algorithm: Lead What Machines Can't.
Cool.
So that's coming out here the end of the month. So I'm excited about that.
Excellent. So, hey, everybody, if you enjoyed Joe like I do, I love this guy. I mean, he's serious. He's not just saying things. He lives what he says, and that's the difference. I think when you meet coaches and they're not just spouting like platitudes. I mean, he lives what he says. He's a lifelong learner. He's always reading books. He's sharing what he's learned with others. But I would really encourage you to reach out to Joe, there's a lot of great coaches that I know, and Joe's one of them. So I would say, look, if you're looking for that coach, this is the guy. And if you love this, if you learned something from today, please please share, please subscribe. I'd really greatly appreciate it. And this is something for you. This is for you to boost who you are, to change who you are, and really to become that new you. Like I do, like this morning when I look back and I thought, oh my gosh, my 20-year-old self would have no awareness of who this self is today. And I'm so eternally grateful for that. So everybody have a winning day, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.
Thank you.